Good evening and welcome to Middleton Hall here at the University of Hull ahead of a BBC Radio Humberside Fans Forum special. Tonight we've got 4 esteemed guests who are going to be answering the questions from Hull FC fans. But before we introduce you to them, let's introduce you to a couple of hundred black and whites. Good evening, everybody. We are live through until 7 o'clock this evening on all frequencies and on BBC Sounds. And don't forget, if you search for Hull FC on BBC Sounds and subscribe, you'll get notifications whenever there's any new interviews there. Good evening and welcome. Give us another cheer, everybody. So, good evening and welcome to everybody listening at home as well. For their benefit, maybe for more than people inside Middleton Hall, let me introduce you to our 4 panellists this evening. Adam Pearson, the current club chairman and chief executive, having owned the Black and Whites since 2011. Richie Myler, who is the director of rugby here at Hull FC. And John Cartwright, the head coach. Our 4th panellist is Andrew Thurkill, who is a businessman from Leeds. However, and people inside the hall know this, we currently have an empty chair. Do we need to be worried, Adam?
Well, we're hoping he hasn't changed his mind, but... yeah. Well, I'm certainly hoping he hasn't changed. But, no, I think there's difficulties on the motorway, so we're expecting a grand entrance any minute now, hopefully. So
he will be here, yeah. The M62's been closed, so that's maybe why he's running a little bit late. There was obviously some big news at 1 o'clock today, Adam. I think I'll start with you. Yeah. I'd probably normally be reading the statement out, but seeing as you're the man who made the statement, just tell us, for the benefit of anybody who may miss, what's going on.
I'm sure everybody's seen the news today. It's obviously a landmark moment in the club after 13 years of ownership to secure new owners in Andrew Thurkill and David Hood, OBE. I'm absolutely delighted because I don't think we could have a stronger covenant or a stronger board going forward to really compete with, with the big 3 or 4 boards that are out there now, particularly, our neighbours across the river. The board that's been put... Yeah, absolutely. But the board that's been put together will enable the club over time, not putting too much pressure on John and Richie, but over time to compete at the right level again. And since COVID, it's obviously been an enormous struggle to financially make everything work with just one person on the board. So it's been 18 months, nearly 20 months of looking for the right owners, and I believe I've genuinely found them.
Richie, you joined the club in April. How's it been for you since then?
Good, exciting, bit of a whirlwind. I think obviously coming straight out of playing into this role and...
Just for the benefit again of people listening at home, the 5th Backstreet Boy has just made it onto the stage. We've all aged, well, apart from Richie, we've all aged a bit. Andrew, welcome.
Thank you.
I'm going to come back to you, Richie, if I may, because I kind of get a feeling there might be 1 or 2 people wanting to hear from this gentleman. Welcome to Hull, Andrew.
Thank you.
What would you like to say as your opening sortie to these Hull FC fans?
It's been a treacherous journey across the M62. I'm delighted to be here. Thank you. Start of an exciting journey. It's all happened very quickly, everything that's taken place. Adam approached me probably 6 months ago.
Yep, 6, 7 months.
Wrote me an amazing letter, which I found of great interest. And Adam and I had a brief meeting, and Rich ended up being director of rugby from that meeting, actually. And then Rich has really loved the job and talked to me about the club and how huge it is. And I came across to a game, I think it was Salford in September. We got well beaten, but the fans were fantastic. And I was just in awe of the support for the club. And I said to Richie, look, I've had a great time at Leeds. It's been fabulous. President's a great honour, but there's no skin in the game, actually. It's an ambassadorial role. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Great club. And I thought, you know what? I want to go to the next level, actually. Business background, relatively successful. I always want to do well. And I looked at Hull and thought, you know, can make something of this. It's a great rugby league city and a great rugby league club, and so yeah, it's a big challenge. All that very quickly. I'm really excited. I know David Hood, who I'm working with on the project. David is too, and I don't know what the future holds. No idea. If we're as successful as Adam's been, 3 Wembley finals in 5 years, 2 Challenge Cups, won the Challenge Cup at Wembley for the first time, and then followed it back to back, and 40 minutes away from a grand final, we'll be extremely happy. But that's all in the future.
Well, you've got 50 minutes of questions to come tonight. Richie, sorry, just finish off what you were saying about your sort of journey with Hull FC so far.
I came out of playing and I thought, well, I went to York and it wasn't the same thrill of playing in Super League, no disrespect to that, and I was looking, I've always had an eye on doing something else and staying in the game. It's all I've ever done since I was 4, so I love my rugby league, and obviously this opportunity came about and it was too good to turn down, and I was really excited for it. Like I say, it's been a bit of a whirlwind, it's been a bit of thrown in the lion's den, but no, I've loved it. It's a different side of the table. You have to have real conversations with people about the livelihoods and stuff, which has been tough, and it's been a learning curve, but I think I'm very lucky and fortunate that there's some very, really experienced players around, staff members around me as such that, like John's got a wealth of experience. It's perfect. It was vital to get the right person in that role. Our commercial team, our retail team, there's a lot of skilled people, just a little bit looking for a bit more direction and a bit more backing, really. And I think that's the exciting part for me and what I'm really looking forward to.
Thank you very much. We've not had a round of applause for your new head coach as well. Can we get John Cartwright? How's it been for you so far, John?
Look, I've really enjoyed it. I got here a week before training started. I've been to Hull in the past. I played a game at the old Boulevard, which I'll never forget. I came out alive, luckily. But a long time ago, I remember attending a game when the MKM Stadium was pretty new. But yeah, it's been a long time. So to get here a week early, it was also great to catch up with my son Jed, who's been away from home for a long, long time. Not only overseas, he moved away from the Gold Coast probably as a 20-year-old and spent time at Penrith and in Sydney. So it's been great to catch up with him and really appreciate the opportunity to do that. He'll find his own way and he'll play his way into the people's hearts. But outside that, to start football was really exciting for me. I was a head coach at the Gold Coast Titans for going on 8 years. Spent a lot of time as an assistant since then, and was at a stage of my sort of career where I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and I spoke to Richie through a negotiation with Jed coming here to play, and sort of things went from there. Had to think about it, and I got really excited. I'd always thought at some stage I'd like to come back to England. I played a year at Salford. I toured over here a couple of times, and I love the style of footy. I love the crowds. I love the atmosphere that it created. So it was always in the back of my mind, and it was just too good an opportunity to turn back. Like Rich, football's all I've ever known. So to get an opportunity, and I'm a tragic, I know, I've followed it. As a kid, I had every program that ever come out. I knew every player in every grade. Followed Challenge Cups, followed Kangaroo Tours. So to get an opportunity to come and coach at a club like Hull FC, I think like everyone on the stage, it's an enormous club. I know times have been tough recently, but the club's been here a lot longer than 2 years, so it was a really exciting opportunity.
So these are our 4 guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's now down to you. I will say to anybody listening at home to us on BBC Radio Humberside, if you've got a question for anybody here tonight, you can text 81333, you can WhatsApp 08000 321 333, put the letters RH at the start of your message, but we will give priority to people who have made their way here to the University of Hull this evening. Tony and Lisa, if you want to start looking for people who look as though they might want to ask a question. I hope you've all done your pre-season training starting in the audience. Have you, like the squad have, so you're fighting fit and ready to go? And I think, Tony, you've got someone behind you who might want to ask our first question of the evening. Good evening. What's your name? Where are you from?
Good evening. I'm Alex. I was originally from Birmingham. However, I'm up in Hull for university.
What would you like to ask, and to who, Alex?
I'd like to ask Andrew, our new owner, about how he plans to improve the in-stadium experience outside of on the field. As we saw in the IMG gradings, MKM Stadium was a source for a lower grade. How can you improve that, please?
So you're improving this. We're not worrying about the on-field. It's everything else in the stadium for your IMG points.
Yeah, so it's all very new. What is it, Alex?
Yeah. Alex, yeah.
Hi, Alex. It's all very new. David and I are investing substantial sums of money, and will be doing in the future, to get the grading up to a grade A. That's what's important, and we expect to do that and get above 15 points. Absolutely. We're only just a touch below 15 at the moment, so that's one of our priorities. But in regard to entertainment outside the stadium, was it?
Inside as well, everything apart from the playing side of things.
I haven't got a clue. I've got to be absolutely honest with you. I haven't got a clue.
You don't have to sing. I don't think that's what he's after.
I don't know yet. I just do not know. It's all happened very, very quickly. It's a
fun fact, actually. Alex comes to training with, is one of the die-hard fans, and he does the fitness sessions next to the pitch.
Is that right?
Yeah, he did it at the back end of last season, and he started to do pre-season, so he should be fighting fit. Actually, he should be able to run around with the mic.
Write his name down, John. Injury crisis later in the year. Could be your man.
We're keeping an eye on him.
Just on IMG, have you got faith in IMG? Killer question early. I've got to go for it.
I'd like to think so. I think that they're an international organisation who've got all the right connections, and they've been brought in on a strict brief. Adam's been responsible for part of that with the other club owners. I'm sure that they'll do things to generate more income for us. We've got a TV deal coming up for renegotiation, and I'm sure IMG will add some leverage and collateral and support with that. It's like everything. You don't really know. It's until it happens. So we'll wait and see. I'm not criticising them at all. I think far from it. But the jaw is out.
Yeah.
Alex, thank you for breaking the seal as far as questions are concerned for us this evening. I think we can go straight to another one now at the back. What's your name, sir?
My name's Steve. I'm from Cottingham, not part of the catchment area of the IMG.
Who would you like to ask a question of? What would you like to ask?
I think, first of all, to Adam first. Adam, I think thank you. I think I've supported Hull FC for so many years. So the highlight has to be 2016 and 2017, and I don't think anyone in this audience will forget the part that you made to get us there and win those fantastic Challenge Cups. It was awesome, so thank you so much for what you did. Your timing, by the way, is impeccable today. You do it every year, don't you? Everyone just thinks, Adam Pearson, what a messiah he is. And he is, because he's handed it over to Andrew, which also is fantastic, and a big welcome to Andrew. So I think my question first, two questions really, is first of all to Andrew maybe, or it might be to Adam, is obviously there's a lot going on at Hull City at the moment, and obviously we share that stadium with MKM, and we've got a lease coming up. So it'd be interesting to know what's happening with that lease. And secondly, after that, Adam, it'd be interesting to see what you're going to do when you leave Hull FC, and maybe what's on your mind.
Start with the stadium first, if we can.
Obviously, the stadium is high on the agenda for Andrew coming in, and we've had a good look at it. And we've got extremely strong relationship with the leader of the council. He's written to me already this afternoon, and we've got a good relationship with SMC, particularly at ground level between myself and Joe Clutterbrook, who's been fantastic since he took over as COO there. And the future for negotiations looks positive. When those start, I'm not quite sure, because the development of the stadium is still in its early stages, so they've got to put those plans together. and our lease will become part of that development negotiation. So when they extend their lease with the council, we will extend our lease. 3 years may seem a very short time, but it's plenty of time to negotiate. Now we've got out of COVID, and we need to fill the stadium. There's no doubt about that. The crowds we were getting last year, which is obviously on the back of poor performances, the lease is okay. But we can make the lease a good deal for the club if we can get 2,000 or 3,000 more supporters down. So we throw the pressure straight over to John to win us some home games and play some attractive rugby and get the crowds back up. But I wouldn't worry too much about the lease. Andrew's got a huge wealth of experience. I'll be there to assist him with renegotiations with the council and with the stadium management company. So it's not something we're unduly worried about, but we're very much aware of. Is that clear enough?
And as far as you go, then what's your next move?
Oh, I hadn't thought about that. I mean, it's obviously been such a torrid and difficult time for 2 years. The actual relief to get a board together with the covenant and the strength that Andrew and David possess is a huge relief for me, because the stewardship of the club and being the sole custodian was just too much of a financial burden, and it's taken its toll. And you deserve better, you deserve a better team, and I'm sure that this board will provide the funding and the requirements to have that team. So at the minute, that's all I can say.
Thank you for your question. If I can get Tony and Lisa to try and get us the next question waiting. We probably should have had a rehearsal for this. But if anybody wants to ask, wave your arms frantically now. You're listening to, you don't tell me you're all, here we go. You're listening to BBC Radio Humberside. It's our Hull FC Fans Forum. What's your name, sir?
Dave.
Hello,
Hull.
Dave.
Yeah, just a question really about the playing squad. So I don't know how to answer this, but obviously over the last few years it's been lacking in quality. We can all see that on the field when, and the signings haven't been up to standard. But what's also been that one of the biggest issues for me is when the team has been taking the field, they look like they're unfit. We look like we're one of the least fit teams in Super League, and there's a lot of talk about off the field about lack of physios, lack of support in that department, lack of training, pre-season being poor. Just really what's being done to at least make sure next year the team that takes the field is fit and ready to compete at Super League level.
Yeah, I think that's... Well, I think both myself and John are new, so we can't really speak about what's been in the past. I think the only thing reassurance you can have is that we've brought in John Clark, who's going to oversee the whole, alongside John, who's going to oversee the whole programme. It's clearly not been anywhere near standard, and I think there's been some skilled people in there, but maybe they needed a bit of guidance. Now, obviously, John's got a set way that he wants to deliver a programme alongside John Clark, and Tom Bennett is leading that now. So, no, definitely the feel has got to be different. I think the first 2 weeks, the boys, if they were sat here now, would tell you it feels completely different. The data shows that they're doing a lot more, whether that is intensity with the running or other parts of the fitness. But clearly, they need to be a fit team. John's mantra from the beginning was that they'll be fit. And if they're not fit, they won't play. So that I think that sets a good precedent. So from my perspective, I'm really happy with the backroom staff. For one bit, probably a bit understaffed at times last year and the year before, and under-resourced a little bit. That's what they were feeding back. So we've rectified that. I think the players will vouch for that. It definitely feels completely different. I think credit to the staff, they're delivering a programme, touch wood, for the first 2 weeks that seems to be on path as a proper professional organisation.
Do you want to chip in on that as well, John?
Yeah, again, it's hard for me to comment on last year. I've been talking to Richie since May, June probably, and there were some holes in different departments, like strictly, rugby performance-wise, that we needed to beef up to be competitive with the rest of the competition. I think, coming in on day one, I can't say I've seen a change, but I can see that we don't have any holes as far as, recognising injuries, preventing injuries, treating injuries. And I think in an environment like rugby league, that's probably the busiest and the most important department. The players earn money whether they're playing or not. So we need them out in the field, not in the physio room, or not in the treatment room. So to have a really strong department in that area, you know, like I say, I don't see any difference between where I am now and where I was at the Brisbane Broncos, for example, who have the best of everything and the maximum amount of staff you could ever possibly wish for. You know, we certainly don't have that, but we have enough people there, and they're good people and they're hard workers. They want the best for Hull and they want the best for the players.
I think a big thing as well was it was going a bit the other way. I think in that our medical bill was extortionate last year. We're trying to rectify that by putting some better processes in place and people with maybe a bit more skill and knowledge in those roles, so that we can counteract that, and it hopefully balances itself out.
Thank you for that. I think we've got somebody else ready to ask a question. What's your name, sir?
It's Graham and I'm from East Hull.
That was a better reaction than I thought it was going to get. I think Graham set you up there for something and you didn't take the bait. Sorry, what's your question?
Just for Rich and for John, really. I read that there's still some room on the salary cap. Any chances of any players coming in? I know a lot of people have said that in my day it was a prop. I think it's a middle now, is it? That you actually call them. So any movement there, maybe?
Well, yeah, we are in the market for adding players to the group that are going to add quality. Ultimately, at this time of year, lots of teams are sorted, players are under contract. Obviously, the new ruling comes in with December 1st in the next couple of weeks. But no, we would like to add if the right person comes available or wants to move. The difficult we've had over a period of time is getting people to Hull, due to our circumstance and the way that our perception has been and the location, the geographical where we're at. It's a hard sell from people from Warrington and Manchester and over that way to come over here. But I'm hopeful that people see a brighter future now and people see that they want to come and be a part of Hull FC, and that should open a few more doors.
You got anyone on your shopping list, John?
Look, our quota list is full. I'm really comfortable with the guys that were recruited there. I know a few of them, know their background, and I know they're the type of player that you guys want to see. And at the end of the day, we're all Hull FC supporters, and we want to see guys go out there and compete. And I know the guys that are coming in are going to compete hard for us. The salary cap never really, it doesn't sleep. It works 24/7. We're starting to sort of follow the Australian model. Fans over there, it's going to be that when that rule comes in on the 1st of December, where players can sign for other clubs. It's a tough one for supporters to take. But you know, we're all every club's always looking. You know, you're looking for the division down. You're looking. You know, we can't look overseas, but. You never stop. Well, as I said, the salary cap never sleeps, and if there's an opportunity there, I suppose the beauty of it is that we do have a little bit of space there if the right player come along, which a lot of the top clubs won't have.
I know we can't just throw every single name at you, but I've got 2 texts, both asking from different people. Would a player like Liam Byrne be the type of player that Hull FC were interested in?
I think it's wrong to talk about someone under contract from another club. I don't think that's right. I think look, there's several players clearly, like you said, we are probably another middle short. Fashi's still got an injury to his thing, so he's going to miss a big chunk of pre-season. So we're probably going to need to look to add a player in that department, but I don't really want to speak about someone that's under contract. I don't think it's fair and disrespectful to Wigan in that sense. So I think, but no, a person of that kind of quality is something that we would like to add.
Go straight to another question. What's your name and where are you from?
I'm Ian. I'm the Hull FC reporter for the Holderness Gazette. You're talking about new signings, bringing new players in. Can I chuck in a few names? Logan Moy, Jack Charles, David Litton, Harvey Barron, Lewis Martin. We've seen a lot of youth come through this season. How important has that been, considering what will be expected moving forward?
No, it's massive. I think they're the future of this club. That's why our recruitment this year has been identified as 31, 32, 33-year-olds. I know that sounds... that's where the region we've gone for, because we don't really want to put too many stumbling blocks in front of them and roadblocks that stop their progression through into the first team. They were in the cold face of it last year, and they put their gloves up. And that back three at times was getting accolades, and the average age was 21, I think, between the three of them. So, that's a massive positive out of what was a dreadful year last year. So, I'm hoping that they learn the lessons that they got last year, and they take the experience of the players coming in and become a sponge to the blokes that are coming in. Because Jordan Rapana, by all accounts, is a true professional and competes for everything. I know Aidan is exactly the same. He had a bit of a rough deal at Huddersfield, but he is again such a competitor and an organiser and a general on that field, which I think a 7 playing for Hull FC has to do. I don't think we've had one for probably Mark Sneyd was the last real general, and I think that's what Aidan will bring to a team. So for our Logan Moyes, Jack Charles, Callum Kemps, all those young boys, that knowledge and experience is going to be invaluable for them.
John, the cliche is if they're good enough, they're old enough. Is that a cliche you believe in?
It is, but it's when I first went into training, I couldn't believe how young the players actually looked. Like physically, it was a tough ask to put those boys in last year. It was done out of necessity, and the club is really going to see the benefit of that down the track. They've had Super League experience, and whilst it wasn't the best experience, sort of win-loss wise, it's made them more aware of what you need to be a Super League player. And then just physically, their bodies just aren't quite ready yet. They'll ideally, if we can stay as healthy as we possibly can, a lot of those names you mentioned will get football at different stages, but it's a really tough ask to put them out there from round 1 and expect them to go to sort of round 26. But the exciting thing is what they were able to do in patches last year on the field. You mentioned some names there that, the two wingers, they were outstanding. And they're both big boys, but you put them alongside a bloke like Tommy Briscoe, and you can see they just haven't quite developed, through that area where you need them nice and strong, and that prevents injuries and it makes them stronger naturally. So they're going to be hard to hold out. They're going to have another off-season under their belt, and they're both looking pretty well up to me at the moment. Thanks
for the question, Ian. Just to let you know, we're halfway through. So if you're going to ask a question, have a good think about getting one in very, very soon indeed. You're listening to BBC Radio Humberside. Let's go right to the back. What's your name, please?
Hey, gents. I'm Matthew.
Hello, Matthew. Who do you want to ask a question to?
Adam and Andrew, please. We've touched on the stadium briefly in the league, etc. I think if you asked 99% of Hull FC fans, we would love our own purpose-built stadium. Is that even in future plans on the cards, up for discussion, something we could potentially look forward to?
New stadium, gentlemen. Andrew, do you want to Adam?
Yeah, I think, look, a new stadium is going to be very, very difficult in Hull. There was, we tried a couple of years ago to look at the Costello site, but it just wasn't there. I can't see the club coming out of the MKM Stadium. I think we've got to grow into it again, and we've got to make it like home, and we've got to put some entertainment on and win some matches. Because to build a new stadium from scratch is a huge investment, but it also needs buy-in from a lot of people, the council, residents, the particular area. It needs the land. I just can't see it happening in the near future at all. I think that we have to make the MKM our home, get on with it, fill it up, and get it bouncing. I think we've got a negative feeling about the place at the minute because we haven't performed there for 2 or 3 years. And I'm sure that is going to change under these two guys. I really do. I think the squad they've assembled is strong, and I think John will get them fit and playing a brand of rugby that you actually enjoy watching again. And more than anything, they'll compete. But I think a new stadium, to ask Andrew for a new stadium on day one...
I was actually just thinking that.
Yeah, it's a bit too much, isn't it? But maybe ask him again in 2 years' time. But I think at the moment we've got to make the most of what we've got.
I've got a nice follow-up, actually, on WhatsApp, so I will ask this. Neil in Swanland, who's listening, he says, why all the Saturday afternoon kickoffs? Friday night games don't clash with anything else. So many other sports on a Saturday afternoon. Why are Hull FC playing so many games on a Saturday 3 o'clock?
No,
No, fine. It's the fact that we don't have to move our games for Sky, which is huge for us. So if you play Friday nights, you're more than likely going to get 5 or 6 games changed, and particularly next year. And if we channel them into a Saturday afternoon and a Sunday afternoon, we get very, very few changes. What everybody thinks, corporate market Saturday is stronger. Crowds are slightly better. On the survey, it came through as slightly preferable. But I have to be honest and say it's that convenience factor of knowing that your games are not going to get switched and that Sky are happy that you're on the Saturday slot. 3 o'clock also works well, in as much as there's nothing on the TV to watch as far as live sport's concerned. So I can't see it changing from a Saturday or Sunday at all.
OK, let's take another question. Hello, what's your name?
Hi, I'm Jacob, and I'm originally from Leeds, but I've been an FC fan all my life. And the main question I was wondering is, because in the last few years, the shocking defeats that we've been having have really taken a hit to our reputation. And I was just wondering how we'd be able to restore that again and get the fires back into the hearts of the players and those fans who want to watch it.
John or Richie? That's a player one.
Yeah, I think, look, I think everybody's having a pop at Hull FC, whether that be within the game, other fans, other clubs. I think everybody feels that we are weak or have been weak and felt that they could put that respect on. And look, the play you earn, rugby league's not is the most unforgiving sport. You earn respect and you earn that reputation of being a hard-nosed team to play against. Like, you want people to come here and leave. Even if they win, they leave knowing they've been in a really tough battle. And that has to start by the players buying in to the way that John wants to play and the way that they want to play as a group, and showing that grit and determination and pride in the shirt. That's the biggest thing. Now, I don't think for 1 minute that any player goes on there not trying to do his best, and I don't think they've done in the past. I just think that we didn't have the right group of players on the field. We're trying to rectify that. Now, that's not going to happen in one cycle. That takes time. We've had years of getting to this point. But I do believe the team that takes the field next year will know what it's playing for, and will understand that it represents more than just themselves on the rugby field. It represents the badge and the fans. And I think if they connect with the fans in that way, that's a very, very powerful tool to take forward.
We often hear the phrase, it's not just the defeat, it's the manner of the defeat. John, as a coaching staff, what can you do about that?
Well, we've last year happened and no one's shying away from it. But as a playing group, the perception is there. So sometimes that perception is a reality. So it's something that, with the changes that we've made a big effort to get just the building blocks of the club back to a really professional level. And I've spoken about the medical staff, the performance staff, the academy staff, our administration. It goes right across the club, not just on that game day. Just feedback from the players that are getting that are, have only been going for we're into our second week. They feel it's a different place to turn up to, as far as we all meet together. They get checked by the physios first thing. Then we meet together. We have breakfast together. They head over to the field together. They come back. They do their wind down after training. Physios checked again. They have lunch together. And again, I'm not 100% sure, and I don't want to talk about last year too much. I'm not sure that those types of things were happening. And I spoke about building blocks. It's all about getting those little parts right, and it becomes a balance. Then that those guys, we've got a lot of new players coming in as well, which is going to help. We've got the younger guys who have played a lot of last year, another off season under their belt. They're going to be physically more prepared for the season ahead. But it's just about the players realising that, hey, hang on, this club's backing us. They're making changes. We want to see success for. I know how passionate you guys are. I've been, even before I come over, I've just heard about the passion of Hull FC supporters, and look, I promise you, no one hurts more than myself when you don't see the performances that you want to see. You just want to see them fighting to the 80th minute, and if we get a win at the end of the 80th minute, what a great feeling that is. I feel the same. You know, when I knew I was coming here, I was watching games. Every game is live over in Australia. And I was watching games and out of my chair cheering for the boys. There were games where they were, you know, they did compete. They beat Wigan, they beat Leeds, they competed with Warrington. So it's there. You know, it's there. It's just now it's giving those players the environment that they need, because with the new players coming in, the younger players coming through, it's, you know, I can feel it, I can taste it, and I'm excited about the first game next year.
Thank you for the question. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, if we just add, I think the facilities improved as well. I mean, obviously, we were waiting for the university to be built, and we moved in probably a year too early. We should probably have stayed at County Road another year. So the boys went into a unit that wasn't finished, that wasn't branded, that didn't have the eating facilities available. This year, it's all finished. It's great. We've made a significant investment into it, and it's our home for hopefully the next 20 years, and that hopefully gives us a bit of more identity and togetherness for John to work with. And possibly in hindsight, we came out of the old training facility a year early before this one was ready.
I think the biggest difference is that the players could find an excuse last year, and I think they openly expressed that, and they weren't wrong. There was elements that weren't right of how it was working. And it was very disconnected. The department of our club was disconnected because we were all doing different things in different areas. So that all coming together alongside the building being finished and the investment gone into that has all tied in nicely with pre-season starting. So that's why it feels different. But they've got to make... We're asking them to take ownership of their own performances and the way that they carry themselves. But they didn't have anything to feel that they could take ownership of. Whereas now I feel like that we're creating a bit of a home, which is something to build off.
Right, thank you for that question. Let's head to the back. What's your name? Hello there. What's your question? Who's it to?
Well, it's kind of just in reference to what Adam was saying about the feedback being so positive, or more positive about a Saturday. My query on that is the damage it's actually doing to the local community game, because people are choosing not to attend the community games because they would rather go and watch Hull play, and you know, it is quite damaging to the local clubs.
Right, okay, that's the difficult one for me to answer, because obviously primarily we want to look after Hull FC. What I will say is that Richie's got it high on his list of agenda for the players to reconnect with community clubs. And I've been amazed at the amount of time he's put already into the foundation and getting players lined up with each foundation project that he wants them to. And that includes going out to community clubs and re-engaging with them. We can't switch because of that as a reason to a Friday night, because it's not the right thing for the club. But what we can promise is that Richie, and with John's assistance, will be driving the club back out into the community and re-engaging. And there's not just words. I can see him doing it at the moment during the day. So that has started.
Gentleman on the front row, what's your name, sir?
It's Josh.
Hello, Josh.
Just more of a thing from like a bit of a one to like the staff and to the players is, what's the expectations and where do you see yourself now and in 12 months' time? What's the realistic targets?
I think you can all probably have a quick go at that.
Yeah, well, for me, when Rich took the job on, I was very interested. I was watching him carefully and hoping he would do really, really well, obviously. And I was so sort of disappointed with the scorelines and the blowouts and it was ridiculous, actually. And I was sort of getting a bit frustrated with it all, even though I was Leeds president and it had no direct impact on me. I wanted Rich to do well, and he's passionate about it. It's 24/7 rugby league, and never stops thinking about it, talking about it, etc. My daughter's having a baby, and Rich is talking about Jake Truman to me every 5 minutes. Oh, whatever. Hull's a great club. It really is, and everything goes in cycles. And it just was on the downward cycle, and it'll hopefully come back up again. And for me, next year, I want us to be credible, competitive, start winning more games. I mean, you know, we're not planning on winning Super League next year at all. There's some wonderful teams out there, and the league will be more competitive than ever next year. with new money coming in the game and so forth. But we just need to start playing some good rugby. The crowds enjoy it. It's passionate, and the fact that Hull Kings Rovers are doing well is good for the city, in my opinion. It creates. I was there in 1980 with the 80 Championship final, fantastic. 81 Premiership final when they played each other. 82, Edinburgh was packed out. I mean, there's a great history there. Even BBC Two floodlit trophy finals. I think 79. I think Hull won that one. I wanted to be competitive, and as Rich said earlier, I want people, if they come here and win at the MKM, good luck to them. We give them a pat on the back, but we want them to go away feeling that was really, really difficult. One thing that we are doing, David and I, is that for the first 3 years at least, we're not taking any wages. We're putting money in the club. We're not charging any interest. We're not taking any loans back out. Everything we get, everything that comes into the club is going straight back into playing personnel, improving the playing quality, improving the playing roster. So for me, it's like I actually genuinely want to do this for Hull and make Hull. Adam had wonderful success. I want to try and replicate that. May not happen, may happen, but we're really going for it. We want us to be successful again. It's important.
Just on expectation, this maybe fan expectation is more interesting here. This might not work at all, but I'm going to just go up the Super League table. You shout yes when you would be satisfied with this finish in 2025. I'm not going to do 12th. 11th, 10th, 9th, 8th, 7th, 6th, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So there we are, John. Over to you.
I think, just to jump in quickly, I think that I've felt that from every fan I've met. They understand the situation that the club's in, and they understand that it's going to take a lot of hard work to get us out of the hole in. But the beauty of this is that it's a collective, and that, like we say, we want the club to do better. And I think everybody, every single part of the club, players, fans, sponsors, are all committed to fixing our problem, because the only way we fix it is together. It's not one U-Butte thing is going to come in and wave a magic wand and everything will be great. It's the whole club has to pull together in the right direction.
We've got 15 minutes left. You're listening to BBC Radio Humberside. I'd like to rattle through a few questions, if we may. Sir, what's your name, please?
I'm Paul Rainey from Annaby Common. I'm the common bit of Annaby.
What's your question? Who's it to?
Just hearing Richie talk earlier about the players becoming disengaged with the club. I think we've reached a point now where a lot of the fans are becoming a little bit disengaged with the club. I mean, it reached a low last season when I actually had to take the wife to a game with me. You know, it's sort of like reached an all-time low. But joking aside, I think the club is, in my opinion, I might be out of order here, but we need more comms, we need more things like this, we need more engagement with fans off the park as well. Like, we just seem to have lost that touch where, over the years before, it was always a case you could go out, see players, engage after games, before games, and it seems to be a lot more of it. We seem to like grown apart. Whether that comes with the sort of like lack of success, I assume so. Like, you know, comms from the chairman. I know I got berated for asking for comms off the chairman over the last couple of years, and like somebody said, why should he sell you? But I agree that the chairman should be quiet when we're doing well, but unfortunately, as these last few seasons have proved, we haven't been going so well. So we need an arm round us. You know, we're paying good money and we're classed as members, but members are what at the end of the day?
I take that fully on board. I think that I've become immersed in sort of trying to sort the club out. We had 3 or 4 bad cycles of recruitment, which has not helped, and we're going to have to go through 2 or 3 cycles of good recruitment to come out of it. But Richie, at the heart of it, I was mentioning to the lady earlier, I mean, Richie, you explained what you're doing with the community and trying to get the players back out there and engaging with the fans, because you're doing some good work on it.
I think, look, from coming in from day one, I think we talked about identity, and with the club has lost its identity and lost its connection with its fans, with its own staff. And that was a crucial thing we needed to get right. But what was more important was that Hull FC is going to be here for another 100 years. Like we're not going to be here for that amount of time. And it's what do we want to leave legacy-wise, and what do we want to achieve? And I think for me, the biggest thing, Andy last messaged me today about legacy and asked like what, and I said, well, I want people to be proud of Hull FC. I think that to me is legacy. I think if at the moment everyone disrespects us, doesn't think we're any good, don't think we're doing business right, don't think we're running the rugby club right. So I think for me, if to change that perception of us and people be proud, to one, come and watch us, feel a part of it, but also aware people who are not a part of our club respect us. I think they're the three biggest things for me.
Thank you very much indeed. We'll have you as the warm-up next time. There's a couple of good gags in there as well. I want to move on. We've got another question. Hello there. What's your name? Hello.
Paul asked my question, so I'll just ask another one. How good is it to have Andy Lass back at our club? And what impact does he have as the number 2 to you, John?
Have you worked with him much already yet, John?
No, I didn't. I've been guided by pretty much Richie as far as the staff, new staff has been concerned. I worked last year at the Brisbane Broncos with Lee Breers, who is on the English coaching staff with Andy as well. So I think Rich mentioned Andy to me. So I did a bit of homework. I spoke to Lee, and I got nothing but positive and good comments about not only him as a coach, but he was the sort of bloke I wanted as well, is how passionate of a whole man he is. He's had a few, we've been together 2 weeks now with players, and he's, we've had open discussions with players about where the club is and where we want it to be and how we're going to get there. And to see him talk about Hull and where it got to last year, he nearly had, I think he did have tears rolling down his face. And I was sitting there, it's sometimes hard to know what the younger generations are feeling when that's happening. But for me, I was just totally ensconced into what he was saying about, how happy he was to be back at Hull. There's a lot of reasons. He was over in France last year. His young family was here. So it was a big decision or at the end of the day, it wasn't a big decision for him to come back because he's a whole man and he loves his family. So, but just to hear him address the group and talk with such intensity and it just meant a lot to me. And I was just sort of looking around the room to the players. You could just see he had every eye in the place totally focused on him. So without having had a game yet or seen him in action too much, I'd say we've hit on a winner with getting him back to the club. I think it's a massive coup for us.
Yes, sir. What's your name, please?
I'm from Hull as well.
Hello, Dave.
This
Who's
is
it for,
just Adam and Richie early. I obviously know clubs get injuries every year. That's fair enough. But I don't necessarily believe that injuries year upon year, how we get them, a bad luck. So what are we doing to change that, and why has it happened in the past?
Yeah, I mean, Richie, that's probably one for you, isn't it? I mean, also the makeup of the squad has got a part to play in that. The training facilities have got a part to play. Obviously, the staff have as well. I think, Richie, do you want to touch on them?
Yeah, well, I think we might have mentioned it a little bit earlier, but the staff's overall, we've got a really experienced guy in Andy Shea who's coming in, he's leading that department. The back end of last year when we left, a member of staff left, that department was a little bit understaffed. It's hard to find someone anybody that's good in that field goes to football or goes to rugby union. That's the reality of it, unless you're willing to pay an extortionate amount of money to have a person in that role. So the fact that we've managed to get Andy in here and in place and leading that department, I think you're going to see massive changes in that. Again, make up a squad helps. The robustness of certain players, I think, will help. But no, again, it all comes down to your pre-season, your processes, and the foundations you put in place now, between now and the start of the year, to set yourself off. But yeah, look, we're in a sport where you run head first into another bloke for a living, so you are going to get injured and you are going to get hurt. It's been able to have that depth in squad to back that up, and have a bit of luck as well. I think you need a bit of luck. I don't think I know we talked about Rovers, but I think they only used majority of the 20-man squad for the full side. I don't think they had many injuries last year. Now that makes them on a good season.
And moving on to, possibly John will have the opportunity just to train on one surface at a time. Last year we were transitioning between County Road and the university, so we're on and off 4G and onto grass and back on 4G. This time, hopefully, John's got the opportunity to do a block on 4G, get him accustomed to it, and then move to grass or vice versa, and hopefully get some continuity in it, because I don't think the change of playing surface helps. But certainly, 4 knee reconstructions in a year, 4 ACLs is unheard of, and they were all done in different ways. So there is some luck involved in it. The young lad Roman Dawson does his scoring a try, just by diving over. And so we need a bit of fortune, but the points about rehabilitation and pre-season, they clearly weren't right last season. So
to answer your question, we've invested heavily in the people in those roles, the new people in there. With John Clark heading up that strength and conditioning programme, led by Tom Bennett, we're optimistic that that's going to be a better programme and make our players more robust.
I think we maybe get 2 more questions in, hopefully. We'll start down here. What's your name?
Kieran.
Hello.
Westall. It's more for John, really. Moving away from negative pasts and on to positive futures, hopefully. Obviously, we've got a lot of options next year with the new players in the halves, with obviously Cust, Abdul, Caesar on the wing, Rapana, Lewis Martin, Harvey Barron, and then possibly fullbacks. Could you give us any clue on next season with a full strength squad at any point, hopefully, what the first team could maybe look like in terms of obviously player positioning?
Starting 17 round 1. Is that all right?
Look, the fact that you mentioned so many players there should excite everyone in the room. We have options now in the halves and the fullback area, the real key areas, and in the hooking area as well. So, look, it's all pretty. Whilst I watched every game last year, once I knew I had the job here, we have so many new players coming into the squad. But again, just so excited with the fact that, if a Caesar goes down, there's a Cade Cust who can play in the halves. Young Jack Charles got a taste of football last year. I don't think I've ever seen a guy here or in Australia who works so hard on himself and on his game. Unfortunately, he got a little strain in his hammy the other day by pretty much overdoing, just working too hard on his day off. But he'll learn from it, and he's going to be better from it. And as he said to me the next day, he said, I'll just use this next couple of weeks to be better in another area where I have to improve. He's a tremendous young kid. The 2 twins, I call them the boy band, the 2 twins, Charlesley and young Moy. They look like they should be playing in a band somewhere over in Manchester. Look, Logan is an excitement machine. I think when you get to see him, when we start playing, you'll be surprised that he's filled out and he's worked very hard on himself in the off season. I think he's got a brand new set of teeth too. So he look, every time I get up close to him, I can see a reflection of myself So it's just exciting that we've got probably 5 or 6 players that if we do come across injuries or a lack of form, we've got people that can go in there and they've played in that position and they're experienced in that position, or they're young kids on the way through.
Thank you very much. Let's do one more, please. What's your name?
Hi, my name's Kelly. I'm a Hull girl, and I own a business called Beverly Travel. This business was born, really, out of Australia 2018. And for anybody here in the room that was on that trip, I remember the emotions at the time, meeting you on Bondi Beach, Adam. It was unbelievable, and we all have a lot of gratitude. I know things didn't really go well that season off the back of it, but it was such an experience, and we can only thank you for that. It was amazing. We help lots of fans go, across the world now for Rugby League, and this year alone we've done a huge trip to Vegas, We've got Warrington and Wigan going next year, and we've got a 5-year deal. There's so much talk of our friends across the river going and doing this trip. I mean, I know it's early days, Andrew, but please, you guys, if you can make it work on the pitch, if you can make it work behind the scenes, let's get Hull FC to Vegas within 5 years, because that is just the dream.
It'll have to be a brief answer, I'm afraid, Andrew.
We'd like that very much.
Yeah.
We'd like that very much.
There you go. We haven't got time for the Bondi Beach story either, which I think is a little bit of a shame as well. Yeah, we'll have to wait for that. Time is going to beat us here, I'm afraid. Thank you ever so much for all your questions this evening. Can we put our hands together for our panel, please? Adam, Andrew, Rich and John. And give yourself a round of applause as well, because I got some really good questions tonight. Thank you. If you would like to listen to this again, you can do it almost from the moment you get in your car or you get home. You just go to BBC Sounds, and if you type in Hull FC, it'll be there for 30 days. And while you're doing that, if you click on the subscribe button, you'll get every interview. So when John has to answer my questions, which are not as good as yours, after a game, you'll get a little notification and it'll tell you. And we, of course, at BBC Radio Humberside will be with you home and away throughout 2025 as well. So thank you ever so much for being here tonight. Thank you for listening at home. Apologies that we didn't get to all the questions, but you've been listening to a Hull FC special here on BBC Radio Humberside. Thank you again. We're done. Do you want to do any wrap up?
You can ask them if they want to.
Are you happy to do 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Got questions, please.
Right. The chaps are happy to do 10 minutes, 15. Does anybody have any more questions? Here we go now. Big hitters now. Big hitters.
It's not on her now.
Thank you, Adam, first, and very warm welcome, Andrew, to FC. It's a broad question, really, about the off-field activities. Obviously, you've had 6 months now, and nobody's going to be in here going to be fooled that you haven't done your due diligence on the club. Where do you see yourself sitting in terms of the stadium management company, i.e., do you want to be more involved with it? And again, with the expansion opportunities that Hull City are talking about at the moment, as a club, because we feel as though, or I feel certainly, as we've been done unto by the stadium management company in the past, and perhaps overlooked, and the things like the concerts are now getting bypassed from us. So it's where you see Hull FC in that great jigsaw in sort of 3 years' time.
Yeah, well, there's a new lease coming up for negotiation in 2028. David and I have looked at the lease very carefully. It's actually a reasonable lease for Hull FC at the moment. It's fine. We talked about renegotiating it and discussed it with Adam and decided that actually we didn't want to renegotiate it. It was probably satisfactory. There's a new negotiation coming up. I've only seen some of the correspondence. Adam was commenting earlier on tonight about the leader of the council being very pro Hull FC. The Hull City do want to expand those facilities and spend a lot of money apparently, but they want a long lease to do that, which is quite sensible. But part of that package must be that Hull FC is accommodated sensibly, and so I'm confident that that will happen. But I can't comment on a negotiation that hasn't actually physically started. But we'll get stuck into that, and we'll deal with it like everything else. We'll be in the box and we'll give it a tick hopefully at some point. But I do see the future being at the MKM Stadium, certainly for the medium term. There's for me, that's where we need to accept that's where we're going to be, certainly for the next 10 years.
There are some wins that we can have in the short term, which Andrew might be able to initiate better than I could, because the stadium needs better branding for Hull FC as a basic requirement. And to be fair to them, they have said, you can come forward and put your plans in and your ideas to us, but it's going to be this cost. And we've decided to spend it in other areas, or we've just decided to try to keep, or I've just decided to try to keep the club alive and float and kicking. Andrew may be better positioned to take us into a stronger position branding-wise. Certainly, as far as having a fan park outside, I think that will develop and that will become a permanent fixture, which will get a fan zone out there that's engaged pre-match and hopefully post-match. That will add to the atmosphere. There are things we can now do under new ownership that perhaps we haven't been able to do over the last 2 or 3 years. And definitely, you know, Andrew's experience as well will aid in our negotiations with the new lease, and that goes without doubt.
Yeah, I mean, we've got. For me, I've got to build a relationship. I haven't even met anybody from the stadium management company, so I couldn't possibly comment. I understand from Adam they're good people, and you know, we'll try and collaborate together and work collectively together, and try and get the best relationship and commercial terms we can for Hull FC.
Small things like the dressing rooms, which haven't been changed since 2020 and look like a normal sports centre that you go down to. You know, Richie's onto ideas about that, about making that feel like home, and the branding down in the tunnels and that kind of thing to liven that up. Obviously, success on the pitch brings the atmosphere and the crowds back, but we can definitely do more pre-match entertainment, better job in the fan zone area, and then we work on the lease over the next 18 months.
Thank you. Tough spot. What, is Lisa somewhere? There we go. Sorry. Is it Bill?
Bill, yeah.
Hello. Bill Dalton, club statistician and historian. Give him a round of applause. Top man is Bill.
Gentlemen, on Sunday I celebrate 68 years of first going to Boulevard. I think I prefer there, actually, but we did win. But the question I want to ask is, well, first, my observation is that I think we're all sitting looking at better prospects now than we did in September. But from a supporter's point of view, I think we probably all agree the IMG grading is a bit dodgy as far as we can see into it. And the one thing that we must help to do is improve our gates. You know, you're talking 0.25% in this thing, and then it does appear to make a lot of difference. Just how a ground like Wakefield's, I think they've only been in the best stand to get that grading. But, you know, these things don't help. That's the system we're going to inherit it. But we must drastically improve our own success record for a start. It's less than 0.5%, less than 50% in the 307 games we've played here. And winning at home obviously gets more people going. And in my opinion, if you would agree with me, that's where we must come in to help. Every one of us must know somebody, some friend, who came to the Boulevard, came to the KC, and don't come anymore. And it's up to us to get them people back.
Bill, that's you know, standout statement,
nobody,
really.
in my opinion, all those years I've been coming, nobody
69
goes
now,
to
Bill,
the
isn't it?
first game as a
After
black
the end of
and
that
white,
question.
and then turns into a red and white.
Sorry.
And vice versa.
What can the fan? That was mean. I apologise. What can the fans do, Adam?
It's a really important statement, and spread the word, Bill, isn't it? And that's what we're looking for, Andrew. Isn't it?
I absolutely love to hear it because we want the crowds back. The atmosphere is fantastic at Hull. And I know it will be next season. I'm sure, hopefully. We want bigger crowds because bigger crowds, I said it earlier, bigger crowds equals more revenue. That revenue goes straight in the club, doesn't go anywhere else, goes straight in the club, sits in the club, strengthens the club, enables us to strengthen the team. It's a perpetual circle, and we are fully committed to this exercise to make Hull a strong team again. It's really important to us. Nobody's doing it for for fun. It's a serious venture. We want to get Hull. I'm not going to sit here and say Hull will be 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th or whatever. I heard all when you went through the numbers, and there was quite a sort of shout for 8th, because that's sort of where, in my mind, I'm looking at the teams and thinking, crikey, there's some good teams out there. 8th would be really acceptable. Rich might say, John might say better, but I'm looking at it from a sensible point of view. We're just got to get the team match playing some nice, attractive rugby, being ultra competitive, and get more people in the stadium. And do you know what? We'll have a real fun, interesting time for the next few years, I'm sure, because everybody's committed to the club. And what Bill just said about the support, one extra person bringing another person makes a difference. But at the end of the day, we've got to make people want to come. So I did go to that game. I think it was Salford, actually, in September, and we got absolutely. Yeah, and I just went as a spectator. I just went in just on my own, actually, and just looked around. Like the fans were singing and Old Faith. It was amazing. I thought, this is really good. This can be something special. Well, Hull always has been a special club, actually. I used to go to the Boulevard in the old days. Wow, you never got much when you went there, ever, apart from a bit of abuse. But you didn't, and I sort of want that back now. It's really important. I mean, Hull's a great club, so I chatted to Nigel Wood, actually, and Nigel said to me, "There's 3 big clubs in 3 big clubs in rugby league," and he said that's Wigan, Leeds, and Hull, because they're only 3 clubs that can sustain crowds of 15,000 or more. They're the only. St Helens are a fabulous team, but they don't do that. Warrington are a fabulous team, but they don't do that. But we said Wigan, Leeds, and Hull are the 3 in British Rugby League. So Hull have done great over the years. And Adam's probably had the best period in the club's history. When you look back and you dissect all the numbers, and a statistician, we've got to get that back. That's what I'm really determined to do. Whether we do it or not, I don't know. There's a lot of heavy competition out there, but we just want to make Hull a real good team where the spectators come along, we all enjoy it, we're all together, and we enjoy our rugby. And we win some and we lose less, hopefully.
I think we're going to have time for a couple more questions, Andrew, because we sort of rushed you on and you were a little bit late. We probably didn't get time to sort of dot the I's and cross the T's. You might not even be able to answer this, because at the moment there's still the word potential in front because of obviously the process. Do you have in your mind a firm date when you'll be able to say it's done, it's over the line, I's dotted, T's crossed and whatever?
Well, Adam and I have had some conversations and have agreed everything in principle, like you do. You do your due diligence, you have to do, and you run through it all and you assume everything will be okay. Now we're thinking, I don't know, a few weeks' time. I've no real idea. I spent this morning with the lawyers, funnily enough, working on bits and pieces. It's all happening. The sooner the better, quite frankly, is the answer.
Yes, what's your name?
Eddie.
Hello, what's your question?
Our inclusive teams are sometimes our poor relations. Are you going to put any money into those, like our wheelchair team and things like that?
Yes, we are. The foundation's getting stronger, and the foundation will be contributing to our diversity teams, of which we put 14 teams out, as you know. I did think when I went to the ladies' playoff final, and I felt a bit guilty when I went down there, because it's an area that needs a little bit more funding for sure, and as does the wheelchair teams as well. But it just... At the moment, we share wheelchairs with the Rovers team. Yeah, I know. And we've got obviously one England player and 2 of our juniors that have been chosen for the England inclusive team as well. Yeah, I genuinely think through the foundation we can make a difference to that next year. I genuinely think that, and I think that it will become part of the brief to do so, because it is massively important. We're looking for government assistance with regard to the diversity teams in relation to the COVID loan, and that might be something we're working on as well.
Thank you for that. We've got another question from down here. What's your
my
name?
name's Graham.
Hello, Graham.
Just want to reiterate what sort of a club we are. We've lost
say 50% of the matches in that time, where are we on shirt sales? Where are we on attendance of Magic Weekend? Where are we compared to somebody mentioned St Helens? We've only been, they've won everything. We've been about 1,500, 2,000 fans max per year, less. And we've won nothing for a while now. We're a big club. When things turn around, we'll be okay.
Adam?
Yeah,
it's more, what can the fans do? What can you say about the fans and support you've had?
To jump in, I think, look, we want it to be a collective. I think that's what Andrew reiterated then. It's a collective between your clubs. You see that the investment going in isn't coming out, and it's all to make Hull FC competitive and for us all to be proud of our team. I think that's what you want. That's what we certainly want. I know the players want that. They want to go on and achieve something and be proud to wear the shirt again. And I think, and changing our perception's a massive thing as well. But that has to start from everybody. That needs us all. That needs, like you say, like Bill saying, another person coming to the game is more revenue for us to go and get another player, or to improve our game day experience. Like, all those things are real factors that if we can generate more money as a club, go into those things, and it becomes a better environment to come to work. It becomes a better environment to come and enjoy and be entertained.
Because there's probably 3 or 4 clubs spending, over £3 million, and to do that, we need to get back to 11,500 people coming inside the ground. It's chicken and egg. We win games, we compete, we send people home happy. I haven't felt happy going to a game for a couple of years, and it hurts me just as much. So to be able to watch them win again and build those crowds back up, that's what we all want, and it's hugely important to the standard of the squad.
Let's take a final question from this gentleman here. What's your name, sir?
Jimmy.
Hello, Jimmy.
So we've had a lot of questions so far, bigger questions, things like the stadium, money, all that sort of stuff, and then the question just come across here that really hit home a little bit about the wheelchair team and the poorer relations as such. So that's one side of it. Is I found it a bit annoying a couple of weeks ago when I found out that some of the lesser teams, if you want to say that, had to pay to go to their own award ceremony. So that's one thing that I want to clear up, that, is there something in place to make sure that doesn't happen again? But the main question I wanted to ask was something that really ground my gears during the season, probably more so than anything else, surprisingly, was Rovers away. I go to every single away game, every season. I have done for best part of 15, 20 years. And when it come to getting tickets for Rovers away, it was a free-for-all. And I didn't end up getting tickets. Eventually I did. I ended up buying them second hand. Is there going to be something in place, like what Hull City have got, whereby you can get sort of member reward points for buying away tickets? So that if I go to every other game, I get like priority for Rovers and finals and things like that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. We're going to have the same problem with Rovers again this season, because we've got, virtually 900 tickets, and so we can definitely introduce something to make sure that those people who've been most loyal get first grabs. I'll make sure that happens. If you just email us about the teams that you're talking about on the awards nights, then we'll look into that. It's the first I've heard of that. Okay. Well, yeah. Well, we've got. Yeah. Okay.
£15 a ticket, and family members are £25.
To go to the awards.
Yeah, the players have to
Okay.
pay
Well, I'm sure we've got James in the audience tonight. He's getting his notebook out, and there he is. And we will make sure something happens on that, and make sure it improves, because it is incredibly important to the club. If we don't diversify the club, and we don't bring the youth through, the crowds are not going to go up. So, trust me, it's high on the agenda.
Thank you for that. Can we just have I know we've done a few applause. Can you give it a round? Tony and Lisa have been running up and down these steps with the microphones. Time has beaten us here. As I say, you can listen back to it on BBC Sounds. I know the club media team are all working really hard. There's going to be some real good content online, on the socials, on the website. Is that right, Gooch, Lewis? Yeah. So do check all that as well, ASAP. Thank you all for coming. Safe journey home. Merry Christmas. We'll see you next year. Thank you very much.